Hey there, it's Lara here with another Witchy Wednesday for the week of January 24th to 31st, 2018. So once again, thanks for being here. Thanks a lot if you come check these videos out regularly every Wednesday. I post a new one of these on YouTube, and when I get feedback from people, it really sort of helps me keep going and lets me know that you're interested. And that helps. So if you like, subscribe to the channel, especially if you share, that would be great. And, on YouTube or on Facebook, because I always share them from YouTube over to my Facebook page as well. So anyway, I have a difficult time sometimes knowing what to talk to you about specifically for the course of the week, because sometimes there's a lot of things going on and sometimes not so much in astrological terms. So, I always try to pick what I really feel instinctually will be important. And then, of course, some things cannot be ignored, right? And one of those things is happening next Wednesday on January 31st. And it's going to be a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Leo. And so I'm going to leave a lot of that discussion for next Wednesday, because that will be Witchy Wednesday, the day that the eclipse is actually happening. But I do want to give you a bit of a heads up before then too. And of course, I'll get to our card and how that all ties into everything. And before I do that, I just wanted to say I really appreciate the interest in the new readings that I'm offering. And if you want to check those out, I'm doing various astrology readings and card readings. And you can find those on the services page of my website, Newell-Barrette.ca. And if there's something that you're interested in and you don't see there, then please reach out. I will sort of shift and evolve as things go on and as I find out what people are wanting more of. And if you do have a birthday coming up in particular, or if you want to buy a gift for somebody who has a birthday coming up, then a natal chart reading and a year ahead reading, you can get both of those in combination, or you can get one or the other. A natal chart reading is obviously an astrology reading, and then the year ahead is the card reading. It's a 7-card reading that I do. And so, but a natal chart reading can really give you a sense of your makeup, your personality, who you are, who you came into this life to be, really. And it can really help to validate some things for you, and to enlighten you on some things, and to really make you self-aware. And when we become more aware of our inner workings, so to speak, it can be really helpful to help us, navigate whatever life throws our way. And it can be really validating to kind of go, oh, that's why I'm like that. It's not weird. It's just who I am, and that's okay. And we can learn to work with that, and we can learn to really harness our strengths, and to to I guess love ourselves through our weaknesses too. So anyways, I'm going to leave that there. And if you are interested, then there's a link below, and you can click the link and go to the services page of my site, and you can find out more there. Okay, so getting to the weekly reading here. I guess the significant things, I have notes here. The significant things I want to mention are that right now, today, we're at what we call the first quarter square of the moon. So the moon was new the last time I spoke to you, and now we've gotten to that the first quarter moon. And so when we're talking about the moon phases and how to use the moon phases in, our day-to-day life. And just side note, I've been really thinking a lot about this and putting some kind of I don't know, a course or something together to help people learn how to work with the phases of the moon. So if you're interested in that, I'd love to know. But so we're at this first quarter moon, and when we're talking about the first quarter moon, it is, if you think back to the new moon, right? New moons are about new beginnings and starting new things generally. And so we're at that place where we're still in the new, but we might be starting to think about adjustments a little bit, or what's the next step kind of thing, right? The moon is what we call waxing right now. So waxing towards fullness, right? Waxing towards a culmination. And so right now we're kind of at that point where we're growing towards fullness or the completion of a cycle, but we're still on the growing phase. We're in the growing phase right now, and so we're thinking about, okay, here's this new thing, whatever it is that I've begun or I'm thinking about, and so now what's the next step? And was my initial idea really it, or do I need to do some tweaks and changes? So that's happening. That's where we're at. And then I guess also, the moon moves very quickly, right? It changes signs about every 2.5 days. And so that energy of the moon is really important in our day-to-day lives. We can feel that more sort of regularly than the other planets, because the other planets all move slower than the moon. So I'll just give you a rundown here. The moon is heading into Taurus right now. And Taurus is, a very practical sign, moves sort of slow and steady, step by step, very into the experience of the senses, the 5 senses. Taurus loves, a good meal, that kind of thing. Anything tangible. And, they like those sensual pleasures, meaning, anything involving the 5 senses. And so that's where we're at over the next couple of days in regards to the moon's energy. And then the moon moves into Gemini. Always thinking, communication speeds up. We can kind of be, depending on, our own personality and where we're at, we can kind of be all over the place with a Gemini moon. But it can also be quite exciting and very sociable, and a lot of talking and communication going on, that kind of thing. And then the moon will move into Cancer. And actually Cancer is the sign associated with the moon. And it's about nurturing and home and family and sort of, that mother energy. And so that's where we'll be just before the eclipse happens. And I guess a couple of things to note would be that we are, one of the significant aspects that jumped out at me when I was looking at the astrology for the week is Mercury, the planet Mercury, which is associated with Gemini and also with Virgo. And it's, again, about our thinking, our communication, the taking in of information, the disseminating of information, that kind of thing. It is conjuncting, so right beside Pluto. And Pluto is known as the Lord of the Underworld. Pluto is intense, likes to dig deep. It's about transformation, transmutation, getting to the bottom of things. Pluto likes to go where, we may not want to go, kind of thing. And so To me, this can signify a real transformation in the way that we are thinking about things, potentially. And this is happening in the sign of Capricorn, right? And you've heard me talk like this is a year of Capricorn. There's a lot of energy in Capricorn. Right now, there's also quite a bit of energy in Aquarius. And so those two energies are factoring in significantly now. And Capricorn is again, it will be with us. That kind of energy will be with us all year. And that is just to refresh. If you want to listen more about this, you can go back to the last few videos. But it's Capricorn it's about the structures and the rules and the stability and the hard work and the responsibility. It's really sort of no nonsense, not very emotional. One foot in front of the other, get the job done. And, about our traditional structures and organizations and things like that. So there's going to be, a lot of focus on those kinds of things. And so maybe this conjunction, this, meeting up of Mercury and Pluto in the sky is going in the sign of Capricorn is, it's going to encourage us to think about those things and maybe think about how we can transform those things. And of course, this always depends entirely, like how there's a sort of a collective energy that goes on and how it affects us on a collective, more global scale. And then there's how it affects us individually, right? Because we're all individuals and our birth charts all look different. And so wherever this energy is landing in your own personal chart is the area of life that it sort of affects you most or impacts you most. So there's that going on. And then we also have on the 25th, which is tomorrow, Mercury is also in a conversation. It's called a sextile. It's an aspect in astrology with Jupiter. And so this tends to be a more harmonious aspect where things are flowing a little bit more easily. And it speaks to some opportunities perhaps. And so Jupiter is, about our ideals and our philosophies. It's about growth and expansion. It can be about things like, higher education and learning, and our higher vision of things. And so we can be, thinking about that kind of thing as well. And maybe having some good flowing conversations around those things. So, few other quick things to mention: that Mars is moving into Sagittarius on the 26th and out of Scorpio. Mars is the planet of action and aggression, and it's associated with the sign of Aries. So initiation, physicality, those kinds of things. And so moving into Sagittarius, it may feel like, we're ready to embark on an adventure. We might be a bit restless. We might be putting our foot in our mouths a little bit, potentially. When it comes to Sagittarius, it can be very blunt and sort of just blurt things out. And Mars is a bit, as I said, can be a bit sort of impulsive and aggressive and bombastic, that kind of thing. So, just be mindful of that. But it can also give you great energy to start a new adventure and maybe, like a higher learning program, or, think about, put action into the Sagittarius things in your life, right? It can be very physical too, like exercise and that kind of thing. And again, this will depend, the area of life this specifically affects depends on where it falls in your chart. For me, it falls in my fourth house of home and family, and roots and all that kind of thing. So, and then lastly, we're going to have the last thing I'm going to say before I just touch very briefly on the eclipse is that Venus is moving into Aquarius. And so Venus is associated with, of course, love and beauty and aesthetic and, our desires and enjoyment and also associated with Venus is also associated with money, and that's largely in my mind because money buys us our the pleasures in life, really, right? And Venus is all about pleasures. So that's moving into Aquarius, and Aquarius, they are or Aquarian energy, as you may have heard me mention before, is it's about doing things differently. It's about sometimes about the shock and awe factor, but really it's about looking at things differently, and it's about humanitarianism and friendship and those kinds of things. And so our Venus tendencies will be a little more Aquarian when this is happening. If you have any questions about any of this, then please reach out to me and let me know, and I'm happy to answer. If this is just sounding like total gibberish to you, and you need me to be a little simpler, then let me know. Okay, it's hard for me to tell how much astrological savvy people have that are watching these videos, and so if you give me some feedback there, I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to move on to just touch on the basics of the eclipse, which again is happening next Wednesday on January 31st. So again, it's a full moon lunar eclipse, and it's happening in the sign of Leo. A lunar eclipse is when the sun and the moon are opposite in the sky. And so you think of that, the moon is really about, it, at the very basic, it's about the feminine energies, and the sun is more about the masculine energies, right? This yin and yang sort of notion. And so those are opposite in the sky during a lunar eclipse. And so that speaks to sort of a need for balancing, right? Balancing somehow the yin and the yang. And so there's some things, some aspects happening in accordance with this eclipse that are really highlighting female energy right now. And I think, it's really no secret at this point. If we look to what's happening out in the world, we can pretty clearly see that there is a bit of a shift happening and perhaps an uprising happening. And, the female and the divine feminine and, women's issues and that kind of thing are getting more and more attention, right? And so, and the, the male energy is really in a place of having to sort of adjust and really, having to come to terms with the fact that, the scale has tipped too far in that direction, and that now we need to bring things back into balance, right? And so we're going to probably hear a lot more talk about women's issues and issues of, motherhood and female roles and female empowerment and, just all of those sorts of issues. And you will notice, if you've paid any attention to what's been going on in the media, I mean, so much always, right? But there's been a few really gruesome, intense, upsetting stories that have come out in terms of, child welfare issues and child abuse issues. And honestly, like I hate to even bring that up because it's so upsetting. And trust me, I read an article that I wish I had never seen the other day about one of these cases, and I don't even know what compelled me to read it, because I I try to stay away from taking too much of that information in, not because I don't care, but because of quite the opposite. It impacts me so viscerally and so deeply that it it affects my functioning and it affects my sleep and all kinds of things. And so um but I did read this article, and it's just horrific. And so these issues of welfare are going to also be coming to light more and more, and more justice for children. It's part of that nurturing, motherly sort of energy that I was talking about. And so with that, the card that turned up for us this week from the Rider-Waite Tarot, and I know this video is quite long, I had a lot to say today, is the Emperor card reversed. And so this speaks to the need for balance, for balancing the masculine energy with the feminine. This can indicate a real need for taking responsibility for our life and for our actions, and perhaps for our wrongdoings, or, standing up for ourselves, empowering ourselves in a really responsible and, a really responsible way, and in true integrity. And so, we may need to sort of reevaluate where we're having an imbalance in our lives between the masculine and the feminine. And when I say masculine and feminine, it's important to realize I'm not just talking about men and women. These are sort of universal archetypes, right? We all have, all of us, men and women, we have a masculine energy and a feminine energy within us, right? That's what makes us whole people. And when those energies are out of balance in us, then we feel off. Our life is out of balance. And so there's this real need for addressing those imbalances in our own personal lives and on a global scale. And so I'm going to leave that there I think I've said plenty and then some. I'm going to leave that there for you this week. And if you have any feedback for me, I really, really appreciate hearing from you, however you're comfortable doing that. Whether it be leaving a comment here on YouTube or Facebook, or reaching out to me via private message on Facebook or Instagram, or email, info@laranewell-barrette.ca. So thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And, stay tuned for more moving forward. I'm really excited about the direction things are taking here. And I hope you stick along for the ride. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.